Hello, and welcome to CDO Magazine interview series. My name is Channie Mize, and I'm the general manager for Slalom here in the Ohio Valley. And I am so excited today to be interviewing Maddie Bell. How do you have those conversations with clients or with other founders in AI on having more realistic expectations for AI?
It's funny. If there's one thing people take away from this conversation, it is that all of this has nuance.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these blanket answers that we're reading about have been simplified so that we can all generally get them. But while they are true in theoretical application, they're often not true in actual application. So a few things to unpack kind of what we talked about. A lot of people think training AI means we're all need to go off and train large language models with super, super clean data.
Mm-hmm.
And that is there's many limitations and challenges and reasons why most businesses will not fall in that category. There
Mm-hmm.
are some that will. They have the resources, they have the money. But training I think what a lot of people want is not to have to go get a degree in machine learning from MIT. What they want is the ability to predictably control a workflow.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, let's take a chatbot as an example. What we're seeing today is great. I'm going to feed the chatbot every FAQ I've ever answered, and I'm going to put it on my site. And then if somebody has a question, it'll answer it. Theoretically, great. Nuance. A lot of times when people visit our site, we don't want to answer every question they have.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we want to get them to a human that can.
Mm-hmm.
So when we deploy our web chat AI bots, we actually contrast them versus fact bots because our AI chatbots are trained not through LLM data optimization, but through specific criteria that you're able to go in and say, hey, when someone comes to my site, I know the questions that I need to ask them to understand their buying intent. In fact, most companies spend a ton of time to think about, what should we ask them to really figure out where this buyer is at? And we don't want AI winging it in
Mm-hmm.
any sort of way, right? Like we want it asking specific questions on specific playbooks. But what we do want, nuance, is the interpretation of their response to be more robust,
Mm-hmm.
more dynamic. And so, again, this is just one use case of a web chat bot. You could go to someone's site who has a fact bot. They could say, I want to know this about your product. It could look through as many documents as it can and do its best shot and hope it doesn't hallucinate.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone could say, hey, I want to know if you can schedule my French class. Awesome. What challenges do you have scheduling your French class? Well, it stinks and I'm terrified. Got it. It doesn't sound like you're scheduling pipeline meetings at scale, right? No, I literally just want to, cool, here's a video on how you can buy our low, right? And obviously it doesn't do that, but you
Right.
get my point of I see a world where these AI agents can be set up with specific objectives and criteria that humans set that they can then monitor and can go execute on workflows. And I see that being very different than just having to go back through every piece of latent data you've ever seen, categorize it, classify it, and upload it into a massive RAG document. Because ultimately, it becomes too broad and it's not actually focused in on what we're trying to do, right? What we're trying to do on the website is convert a meeting in some cases, not answer questions. So, how do we build technology that achieves that objective?
Yeah. Well, I think you're dialing in on it. And Chad GPT would agree because it even told me, see, I'm trying to go to personality, even told me that, we need to have realistic scenarios and realistic expectations of AI. And so giving it a focus allows you to manage what data you actually need to drive that, which is probably much more attainable than cleaning all of your data. And then now you also know what you expect from terms of return on investment because you've given a narrow use case, and then you can scale on it, which is one of the things you mentioned. And one of the things I like to think about is kind of this agile iteration. And like you have like the first thing that you have out the door, you can continually iterate on it until you get to the thing that you're trying to build.
The other thing that I think CDOs especially can consider is really keeping an eye on latent versus living data.
Hmm.
So part of the reason there is a lot of living data, right, in organizations. Take, for example, a meeting note taker.
Mhm.
Where we live, we have meeting note takers. Yes, the role is to capture what happened in the meeting so nobody in the human side forgets, because guess what? We're humans and we forget stuff.
Right.
But that's living data that now that you've captured it and harnessed it, you can clean it up and put it in the right places and use it for content creation, for follow-ups, for CRM enrichment, for optimizing things that happen earlier in the meeting conversations, because now you have the questions that are actually being asked in the sales meeting and the answers that the humans are actually giving. So you
Mhm.
can actually start to create closed loop cycles where living data can actually fuel other platforms. So I think I know a lot of focus is on, gosh, let's look at our lag, like the latent data that we have and how valuable could that be? And I think those workflows are great. I would not forget that there is a constant flywheel of living data that you can harness and push forward in a different way. And I think some people aren't seeing that as
Mhm.
clearly.
Yeah, I agree. Um, we could spend a lot more time talking about data, but I want to pull us back. And one of the things that I'm so inspired about you is the fact that you're a founder. You took a leap of faith and you jumped into building scheduler AI, and I think that's truly inspirational. Do you have any words of advice for other aspirational potential founders out there? Anything you would, any lessons along the way that you've learned that you'd like to share?
You know, it's funny. I think people will see the highlight reel or the
Mm,
low light reel. They very seldom see the micro moments that had a
mm,
macro impact
ooh,
on where you end up. And, so many people look at the leap that both my co-founder and I made, and they're like, whoa, that was crazy. Why did you do that? Um, we fell in love with an insight.
mhm,
Scheduling doesn't start with a calendar, it starts with a conversation. Meetings are the atomic unit of business growth. This
mm,
problem needs to be solved. Like, yes, bright eyed, bushy tailed. But a lot of micro moments happened that, whether it was the right people coming into the discussion or the right opportunities, or that opened the doors, and the journey has been one of the most sanctifying, for sure. But I think if you're kind of following some of those life compasses, it doesn't, you know what I mean? You're kind of like, well, this is kind of what happened.
mhm.
Like this is what happened. And once we were there, it was okay, here's the challenge in front of us, and how do we ask the right questions and bring in the right coaching and genuinely work to solve the business challenge, and then kind of see what comes of it, right? Like, I think, if you had told me that I was going to leave my job running billion-dollar brands in CPG to go start a patented AI tech company that builds AI appointment setters to accelerate meeting pipelines for B2B SaaS sales and revenue teams, I would have understood 6 words, probably 3, of what I just said. Um, that's life.
Mhm.
And so for me, that's kind of like, if you're gonna do something like this, like, be measured, pay attention to the micro moments, like, keep optionality on the table, talk to other founders, right? Because it's not gonna be a lightning moment. It's gonna be the sum of thousands of little things that put you on a path that, for some reason, you're silly enough to walk down.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. The one thing I would say though, is sanctification conjures up hard work. And so it's not like you fell into something that was super obvious. It sounds like you had some hard work to that you're still maybe going through and you're still doing.
It's funny. When you this is one thing I will say for any type A person that has worked in a, I would call it an established business environment. That can be of any size, but think about it as the word established. I think Rye Walker actually, so kudos to him, he's a Cincinnati person, said this to my co-founder in a session once, and we have just, it has been on our minds so much. When you are used to making straight A's,
Mm-hmm.
there's something in that for you, right? Like, you know what good looks like, you know. And when you come into an early stage startup, your
Mm-hmm.
job is to take an F to a D,
Yeah.
and then a D to a C, and then a C to a B. And that journey is hard. And it's
Mm,
hard because you are trying to create something that has not existed.
right.
And the inertia, we kind of had to get to this place of, look, despite everything we've done, and we've done a lot, we actually just got accepted into Reid Hoffman's Masters of Scale early founder cohort, where we're going to go to
Wow.
Silicon Valley. We just closed a multi-million-dollar round from one of the top VCs in the region. I got to stand on stage at P&G in front of 4,000 people. Like, whoa. Despite all of that, we have a 92% chance of failure. And
Mm-hmm.
man, like, we had to get to this place of being okay with that reality versus trying to solve it immediately. And I think that, if I'm being honest with you, Channie, there are days when I'm good. And
Yep.
there are days when I am not. I am a mess. And it takes a community, it takes founders. And I will say, one day, if we make it, these stories that we will have to tell of the time someone emailed my co-founder, AKA my spouse and CTO, to recommend that the sales rep be fired. But the sales rep was the CEO of the company. That wasn't it, right? Like, that was not it, right? And it was because I literally couldn't get the Zoom open. It was a technical anyway. But the point, though, 2 years ago, right? Versus, at least it's improved. People email Mike and tell him that the sales rep's great.
Well, you moved from a D to an A, it sounds like.
Yeah. So at least I've got that going for me now. So yay. Those silly stories, but then stories like, man, the first time people use the platform and we
Mhm.
just watched
Yeah.
5 people schedule meetings like this, like, oh my God, it worked. Oh my God, it worked. Right. Like, and not only that, but like the people that believed in what we were building and said, no, that one wasn't it. That was D, strong D. But I know you guys can get to an A. Those people have been there
Mhm.
every time. And it's just really inspiring to see. And they come from places that you don't expect.
Yes.
So that belief in people that don't have to believe in you, and the people that I've met through the journey, like, if I think back and I say, like, wow, even if we fail, was it worth it? Seeing that, like, someone can look at something this young and see it and be there. Um, I wouldn't have gotten that experience. And
Yeah.
so those type of things happen a lot, where you're like, man, if it all went to, what, would it still be worth it? And I'm excited that we can very much so say, like, yeah. And we're working on tech that is going to change the future of work. And we get to be in those conversations and solving those problems. And so it is sanctifying, but we feel incredibly blessed.
I love that. I was getting goosebumps. Starting new things is super hard. And I love everything you said about that. I also agree that it's the people that help you along the way that you don't even expect to help you. That's where that you get the lift that you never thought you're going to get. And I love that. Let's do a quick lightning round because I know we're getting close on time. And this is just, first answer that pops into your head. It's going to be super authentic. And we'll kick off with hopefully an easy one. So Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Nice. Dog or cat?
Dog.
Okay. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Nice. Okay. For the last one, let's go night or morning?
Morning.
Nice. Well, Maddie, always amazing pleasure to have a chance to connect with you. And thanks for being so authentic and sharing so much about your journey. I love hearing it. And I love your thoughts on AI. I really think you're nailing it. So, viewers, thank you so much for joining Maddie Bell and I today. Please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Thank you so much.